Helen Parker had always appeared as the ideal nurse, kind, compassionate, and dedicated to her patients at St. Mary's Hospital. To her colleagues, she was nothing short of an angel in scrubs. But beneath her warm demeanor, a chilling secret lurked. Helen had been in love with Jacob, the mortician at the hospital, for years. Jacob was quiet, mysterious, and spent his days preparing bodies for their final rest. The mortuary was a somber place, cold and lonely. But to Helen, it was a haven, for Jacob was there. They met in secret late at night, surrounded by the dead, finding solace in each other's presence. But soon, their late-night rendezvous weren't enough for Helen. Her obsession grew, and so did her desperation to spend more time with Jacob. She yearned for the quiet intimacy they shared among the lifeless, an environment where no one judged them. Her longing consumed her, leading her down a dark, sinister path. One night, as Helen made her rounds, an idea crept into her mind. A way to be with Jacob more often. If there were more deaths, she would have more reasons to visit the mortuary. It started innocently enough, with elderly patients who were already close to death. She simply turned off machines or administered slightly too much morphine. No one noticed the pattern. After all, death was part of the job, but the thrill of seeing Jacob was intoxicating. The more lives she took, the more opportunities she had to visit the mortuary. Helen's actions became bolder, more reckless. Patients who should have recovered mysteriously passed away in the night, always under Helen's care. Her colleagues began to whisper, but no one dared confront her, until it was too late. One evening, as Helen entered the mortuary to see Jacob, she found him deep in thought, staring at one of the bodies she had brought him earlier that week. He looked up, his face pale and his hands trembling. "Helen, what have you done?" he whispered. She froze, her heart pounding. "What do you mean?" "These deaths, they're not natural. I've been noticing the marks, the overdoses. Something is wrong." Jacob's voice cracked with fear. Helen's blood ran cold. She had been careful, or so she thought. But Jacob was no fool. His years of handling the dead had given him an eye for the truth. Tears welled up in her eyes as she stepped closer to him. "I did it for us," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I wanted to be with you, more than anything." Jacob recoiled, horror washing over his face. "You killed them?" "Helen, this is madness." But to Helen it wasn't madness. It was love, or at least the twisted version of love she had come to know. In her mind, she had done everything for him, for their stolen moments together in the mortuary. But now, Jacob looked at her with disgust, and the world she had built around her obsession began to crumble. Unable to bear the weight of her guilt, Helen fled from the hospital that night, her heart shattered and her mind unraveling. The authorities soon uncovered the string of suspicious deaths, and Helen was arrested, leaving Jacob haunted by the macabre love story they had unwittingly become part of. In the end, Helen's obsession destroyed not only the lives of her victims but her own as well, leaving behind a trail of death in the name of a love that could never survive.